Grant, congratulations on winning the PAA Mortgage Broker of the Year. Great achievement and obviously very good for you and for the Mike Perro business as well. Tell me, one of the things we hear a lot about now is, mortgage brokers, and now also we talk about them as mortgage advisors. How do you see your role?
Well, a mortgage advisor needs to, in the modern sense, I think we've grown up from being a hunter and gatherer, which is I think how the public may have thought of us about 10 years ago. We were somebody that would go and beat the banks up, and I do say to people, that's intrinsically central to the end result. I guess from their perspective, we'll certainly deliver them a great result, but the advisor is somebody that actually pieces together a number of I don't know, let's call it the puzzle, the pieces of the puzzle that you have to actually pull together to get them from I'm sitting in front of you for the first time and then suddenly you're now in possession of the keys to the house. So an advisor in my book is now trying to be, well, I am anyway, sometimes it's a mentor, guide, taking them through a very unfamiliar process, and one that I've been through a number of times, and a number of my colleagues have too, and we're just trying to fill that gap, I believe. So that's and it's a gap that needs to be filled.
So it's a very different role now from that hunter and gatherer where it was in the past to something which is much more of an advice-based process?
Yes, well basically it comes and goes though. As the market gets busy, you do become, I think, a person that's seen as definitely cost-effective, but a time-efficient option to the client actually trying to do it themselves. So that happens when the market gets tight like it is now, because you've got to act so quickly to get in front of the game with auctions and things like that. But ultimately, yeah, in the bigger picture, there's a lot more that the client's looking for around. Like I always say to clients, we're not going to have a discussion about loan structure if I don't get you to the point where you're the unconditional owner of a property and waiting for settlement. So that's how I put it to them. We've got to get you to the point where we can sit down and have a talk about, is the lender option that we chose at pre-approval the right one? Is the loan structure the way I want it? And I try not to get people into that latter stage until we've actually worked through the process of actually getting in possession of a property, and that helps.
I was really interested in your comments about lenders and how as a mortgage advisor you have to treat a lender as being a client. Can you talk me through that one a little bit more?
Yeah.
I guess it's not how a lot of people think of that relationship.
No, well I mean, they are a client because basically if you want to turn it on its head, I've got something that they want, which is, it may be even their own client, but for what, right or wrong, their client has decided to engage me as an intermediary. And therefore, I basically have something, like you could say, on offer to them. So basically, they are a client in that respect, and I wouldn't treat a client with any impoliteness or disdain, and I don't do that with lenders under any circumstances. I will be the first to push back and say that's not acceptable, because at some point they become also a provider, and of course they are a provider, and they'll have certain things that they want out of the relationship, and it's a symbiotic relationship, but we've basically got to work through that and get the result that each of us wants.
Yeah, and if I were to ask you to, where the greatest need lay in the house buying process, what would you say to that?
I'm pretty clear on that. I think that if the market could find a way to fund buyer's advocate, there is a huge demand for it. I choose to fill that demand where asked, and let's be honest, first home buyers do ask for that help. And when you've got things like auctions and then suddenly the auction's brought forward, that's a scary time for people. And if you can fill that space, and the mortgage advisor's in a unique position because they are remunerated by somebody else. I don't think Kiwis would pay for the service if they had to themselves, but a mortgage advisor has the option to, okay, give up a bit more time, but to take that space, and when you do, you're well rewarded, and you're rewarded with referrals as well.
So that whole buyer's advocate thing is a whole new area, isn't it? And you think it will develop quite a bit?
Well, it'll develop if the individual wants to develop. I've chosen to develop it. As I say, it is more time consuming, it draws a lot more. It's simple stuff like saying, I would say like banks give out instructions, and this is what I say to clients, banks give out instructions, they'll give the instructions to me, but the difference is that I won't just pass them on. I'll say, what can I do to help with that? Or I said that to a client this morning, do you want to organise the valuation, or would you like to use one of my contacts? Immediately she came back and said, I'd like to use one of your contacts, but I'll make the arrangements directly, just pass me on the details. That's it, that's all I did. But that was helpful.
Yes, and just finally to sum it up, you're based here in Auckland. How are you finding this Auckland housing market at the moment?
It's challenging from the perspective that there's a tremendous amount of work can go into a week for 7 or 8 auction preparations, and yet there'd be potentially no result. But you know full well that you've got to go through that entire process for each and every one of them as if it was the buyer, the successful applicant. And the banks have got that to deal with as well. They've got, for every 10 deals that they see, maybe 1 or 2 of them are settling, because across town everybody's applying for the same house potentially. So I think it's a problem that the industry can't do anything about, but it's challenging.
Excellent. Look, thank you very much for your time, and again, congratulations on your award.
Thanks very much.